Well, I
Huh?
don't know.
Well, like I say, I don't think they want to market it and they want it for young professionals, they're going to have something done.
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think that's what our
It's kind of a
community
standard
needs.
amount.
That's what we want. So what other questions does staff need to have addressed before you can move forward with an actual document as far, I know we've got the open space question. What other questions did you have?
Side yard, 100% of lot width, I forget what the question was there.
Which one are you on?
That's just for two-family and the low-density multifamily.
They've got
Okay.
it reduced to 0 feet, and then they've got the double asterisk.
We wanted to think about what kind of incentives. The Olathe code for the side yards, as you remember, you can look in the other table here, but it's very bulky, and they have all sorts of different language in there. For the side yards, it was, for example, with the two-family, side yards total 20% of lot width, which is reasonable. It may be reduced to 0 feet. If you look down at the double asterisk there, if the side yard setback is reduced to 0 feet, the incentive that the city would get in return for reducing the setback to 0 feet would be blah, blah, blah. You know, some sort of pedestrian linkage or, you know, something like that. I don't really know if we even need to address that at that time, at this time. Because in Olathe, they had that set of incentives, and it got very confusing very fast.
So why were we going with Olathe Overly Summit? Because it's
Because we
basically
like,
the same thing.
we like the option to reduce it to the 0 foot.
Oh,
0 foot
remember,
lot
we were
lines.
doing that because if they were gonna sell it, we wanted to have it equal on both sides.
Right.
But what, the question is, what would trigger them to be able to do the 20, the 0
0%.
feet?
What would they have to do for us in order
And
for
Olathe has a
us
whole litany of things.
to allow that?
Which we really
0
weren't
lot
doing,
line?
we were just wanting to have it equal on all sides if it's sold.
That
We
was
didn't
the,
wanna-
well,
that
we
was
have the
the theory.
20%.
Well, with our PUD now, which you're wanting to phase out, we can do the 0%.
Oh, 0 feet.
We want to be able to attract a variety of different type of composition so that we are, you know, having issues in terms of discriminatory practice or anything like that. This is not my area of expertise. I'm kind of depending upon those of you that are experts to make recommendations and then give us the rationale for why you're recommending that as opposed to us try to figure that out ourselves. I mean, Mike has, and the fact that Sheila and Mr. Adams have both been on the planning commission, they have a higher degree of expertise than I do, knowledge in terms of this. I'm looking for recommendations.
So am I. I mean, you know, we want to
Because if-
achieve,
if
we want to
not the
achieve.
process,
Yeah, I mean,
we're
we-
not,
Yeah,
We
he's
can do
right.
that. My only problem with that is that, I mean, Olathe has all the way through the letter M of options. And the only reason I bring that up is they've gone through the whole rigmarole of vetting this in the public process to see what's important to Olathe. And I think that's where, you know, the group comes in with the task force is what is important.
We want to be
to-
able to have it equal, and you all need to help us figure out where the 0 lot line was because we wanted to have
Is
it
it for
split
neighborhood
and
amenities?
sold.
Is it for certain architectural standards? Is it for additional open space? There are, you pick and choose any number of those. What's important to
I
the
think we were
community?
going with the additional open space because we didn't want to have one side to have all the open space
Okay.
and the other side
Yeah.
not
So
to.
if we
Open
just,
space, or
if
you
we
can
go,
go-
if we focus in on
Isn't that what we were
we're
Yeah,
not-
you
concerned
can go a
about?
little bit more active space, or you can have
We didn't want to have one
artwork
side.
for the site,
Right.
for that site.
Right, there are a whole host of things. I mean, is that what we should focus in on then?
Would
Is
you
for
like to have-
recommendation is to have
Yeah.
the additional open space or amenities, and that's kind of where we should maybe hone in on? Okay. That's where we kind
Something
of got
that's beneficial
lost.
for
We
the
kinda got
site and the
stuck
community.
because
For that area.
they had.
aesthetically pleasing and family friendly.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Alright.
Does
Good.
that help answer
No,
your question
absolutely,
in the
and
direction?
that's the direction we need from you.
And that's
Now
why we
can
liked
wrap
Olathe
something
better
up.
was because we
Absolutely.
wanted to have it, 0 lot line we think was not a bad thing. It's a good thing if it's done correctly. So we just need staff to give us the, but we don't want to have Olathe this complicated
No.
set of guidelines. We want to have it streamlined and simplified.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's where we were getting hung up, is because Olathe does have.
We don't want that.
a host of
Right.
options, and I wasn't really
Well,
sure
they
as
made a
it.
science out of it.
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
did, and I wasn't sure as a
making
task
science out
force.
of it, but I'm not sure that's necessarily.
Could
what
we do
need.
it just in a streamlined
Sure.
way?
Absolutely.
We'll see what we can come up with
Yeah.
open space amenities, like we're saying here. I think that's a direction we need. That's what we said. We don't have anything because what Olathe has is everything.
You're looking,
So-
I mean, we want to see trees, we want to see
Sure.
places that father or mother can go out and play with the child.
Want to look nice
We
when you
know in
drive through.
terms of what other communities that seem to be doing a good job of attracting retail, of what they're building to bring that to their community.
All right.
That's great.
Just
And
watch
that's-
where we just trees, let's have some, be able to have some burning and different things.
Or
amenities with it.
hunting, we wanted to.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Encourage some
Yeah,
hunting.
yeah.
The only problem is we can't have hunting in the
That's
city
very,
limits.
very
but-
ambitious.
What other questions? does
Otherwise,
staff
we'd have that on
have?
all of our properties.
That's all we have at
Direction,
this
just
point.
those two?
Yep.
Did you bring your list, Shannon, of all the ones you looked at in Olathe and Overland Park, the suggestions? Because I think that's a good list. She had visited a whole group of different senior housing and other multifamily in Olathe and Overland Park. We're not talking about a tour.
Right. You know
We
what?
already have a list of like 5 or 6 different
Well,
places.
we'll have to work with staff to come up with probably how many we think we can cover in a
Yeah.
3 hours time span, and which ones you recommend would be the ones that
And
we should
I
tour.
I appreciate the recommendation and the rationale
Sure.
for the recommendation.
Yeah, for some extra reading material and all of our spare time in the next couple of weeks, if you go to Olathe.
CL10,
Right.
just drive by.
Where was that list? Do you have the
You're
page
gonna
number
go
of
to
that
the
list of
science
incentives
standards.
in Olathe?
It's,
112.
112. If you go to page 112, in the
Suggestion.
Olathe,
I might be looking at the wrong
This is your
page,
design
but
standards or the,
no, this is for incentives.
Is that their, I don't know if that's actually what they call their incentives chapter, but
Okay. Was it on 112?
it's development performance standards. But see, I'm not sure tell me where they're referencing
I don't think
from
anybody
their
else
zero
has.
lot
I
line.
don't-
Oh,
It's from the last, it's from the last.
Well, you know
Oh, we
what, do you
don't
have any more
have
copies of this? Because this, I mean, I guess my question is, do y'all want to have a tour provided, or do you want to on your own try and look at some of these sites when you can?
Well, the nice thing about being able to tour as a group is that we can have discussion and process through what we're seeing at the time. If not, it's just a matter of,
Just looking at it and not knowing what you're looking at?
because you might be looking for something different than I'm looking for. And in that way, with comparison, we can point out the various attributes. I think it's just a more comprehensive approach.
Can I keep this?
absolutely.
Yes, I was going to note, those are not ones that I would necessarily recommend all of those. Those were ones that I drove around and looked
You
at.
guys give us
I
the
can
notes.
send you an updated list based on ones.
If I set up some kind of a tour for we're meeting in 2 weeks where we're gonna go over quality standards. Next Thursday, can you all, if I set up some kind of a tour from like 4 to 7, is that?
I'll be out of town.
It's July 3rd.
That's John.
I don't know if
Yeah,
you're out or not.
I'll be gone too.
I would sadly be in town.
Because unfortunately.
My boys be
there's
blowing
no
something
You know what, I'll set up a couple of dates that we can meet, hopefully before our next meeting. I'll email y'all dates and what will work for most of us, and we'll try and coordinate some kind of a
That's
schedule.
4th of July is Friday, so almost all next week this would be bad.
All right.
I'm gonna be in Mexico anyway, making Nicolada, so I
Oh,
don't care.
geez, George, we're fast.
Yeah.
And it's
just
Yeah.
brag about
You had to do
that.
it,
Keep saying that.
If staff could come up with an actual zoning that you would recommend, that we can actually vote and move forward and
Sure.
have our
I
recommendations
think
for our
we're there.
next
I think we're
meeting.
there. We
I
just
think we're
have
real
to
close,
do
we
it,
just
yeah.
gotta tweak it, but zoning that we can go ahead and adopt, we'll try and get a tour in before our next meeting. And then staff is going to have the quality standard comparisons between Lee Summit and Olathe, and we're gonna do probably very similar to what we did on the zoning regarding quality standards. And that will, I'm sorry, we have been going over in our meetings, but, it's not too bad this week. So we'll meet in 2 weeks, and then we'll be, staff and myself will be emailing everybody, I'm trying to set up some kind of a field trip. And then I know that your husband had wanted to go on the tour, so I'll call whoever else wanted to go on the tour, and we'll try to, because I know we had a few members of the public who wanted to go on the tour also, so